Hello. I hope I'm streaming now. I'm looking at the Trump impeachment, and all the information is good. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. If you're an American, you this information is good. It's just a way to get the impeachment started. But way before this happened, anybody who's reasonably intelligent knows that Mr. Trump should not hold the office of President of the United States of America. I don't need to go into details. Anybody who's not deaf or blind or been living in a cave, if you're in prison, you've been seeing Mr. Trump. You know he should not be president. But with this thing about the Ukraine, Mr. Trump is such good friends with Mr. Putin, the prime minister of Russia. They're being aggressive with the Ukraine anyway. Um, I just saw some information where the United States gave $510 million, $320 million, $700 million. That's a lot of money. They gave that to the Ukraine when Mr. Poroshenko was the president of the Ukraine. Now, a new guy has been elected last year in April, Mr. Zelenko. Um, he's a reformer. There was a lot of corruption going on in the Ukraine. Just think about that money I just talked about. We're talking about a billion or billions of dollars that governments give to smaller countries to help them become republics and big governments, and if it helps the country. So and I guess they have to get an okay from NATO or the governing bodies that supposedly look out for all the countries in the world, so nobody can do like Hitler did. Okay, so the Ukraine, we know that the U.S. government, we don't have money anyway, but we gave that much money to the Ukraine. Mr. Trump is good friends with Mr. Putin. We know that there was corruption going on in the Ukraine. Everybody knows that. I know that, and I don't have any reliable sources, and I don't work in Washington D.C. But 310 million, 520 million, 700 million. You give that money to Poroshenko in the Ukraine, and there are complaints of corruption going on, which means that money, all those millions, they're not going to buy little tanks and missiles to help them fight off big bully countries like Russia, who is Mr. Trump's good friend, Putin. And Russia is sneaking in, taking lands from the Ukraine because they want that land. But they've been given, maybe, who knows, maybe Trump and Putin and the corrupt officials in the Ukraine before Mr. Zelenko got there, maybe all of them were dividing those millions up. Maybe, and Rudy Giuliani too. Rudy, Putin, and Trump. They're sending all those millions to Poroshenko. I don't know why they didn't know it was corrupt when they sent the first 500 million to the Ukraine. Then they sent 300 million and 700 million, but it's corrupt. The money's not getting to where it's supposed to get to. You're supposed to be buying tanks and weapons to help fight off big countries like Russia, who's taking your land, but it ain't getting where it's supposed to get to. Who's getting it? Who's taking it? You're fighting corruption. New guy takes over, and Trump tells them. Trump and Giuliani tells the Ukraine that we'll send you the next issue of money and financial aid to help fight off Russia if you run this investigation on Mr. Biden and his son. I guess they figured out somebody, since the new guy took over in the Ukraine, Zelenko, maybe he'd figure out who's been corrupting all the money. And so he says maybe that was just a way to lead them towards Mr. Biden, who was going to be running against Trump anyway in 2020. So maybe that's why they started that stuff about Mr. Biden. Who knows? But that's a lot of money to be given to the Ukraine, and the Ukraine is corrupt. All the officials in the Ukraine are stealing the money. Maybe they're dividing the money with Mr. Trump and Mr. Putin. Think about that. Wow.